Welcome to this week's podcast of Logically Speaking Sports, brought to you by the Daily Beacon. This week we'll be talking about Super Bowl LIII, the matchup Patriots versus the Rams. Adam, you can go ahead and take it off.
Yeah, like you said, Patriots and Rams in Atlanta. I think it's going to be a good one. To be honest, I think it's going to be a game of swings. I think Brady will do his usual thing, but Goff and the Rams have shown that even when they're down, 2 scores, 3 scores max, they can always put together some drives and put together a couple stops that can bring them back into the game. I think one of the X factors will probably be James White as well as C.J. Anderson. C.J. Anderson seems to really fit what the Rams are trying to do right now, at least. And I think that he's got a lot of confidence going into this game. Statements made this week that he knows his talent and what he can do on the field, no matter the jokes made for his weight or whatever. He's putting in work, and he's showing that he's a legit competitor, and he's one of the main reasons they've even made it this far. So I think his success as well as James White. I think James White out of the backfield catching passes and stuff like that will be key for them. Also look at Gronk, and I think if Gronk can make some plays against the linebackers, the Rams have a lot of fast linebackers. Mark Barron, formerly a safety, he's fast, but can he keep up with a physical Gronk? That remains to be seen. So I think that's another storyline that could come out, that if after this game it's Gronk breaks out in the Super Bowl, I won't be surprised, just because guys step up for the Patriots even when you don't expect it. Just like last year with James White, stuff like that. It never surprises me with that offense. But yeah, overall, I think it's really intriguing to see McVay and Belichick opposite ends of the spectrum, both age-wise and, Belichick is the cold, stone-hearted ruler of the Patriots. When you have against a guy like Sean McVay, who's the fun, outgoing guy, remembers every single play from his middle school days even, apparently. It's just a clash that we haven't really seen before. So I think that's awesome as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, for me personally, I think my X factor for the Patriots is Sony Michel. He's had an excellent postseason so far. I've been really impressed with how he's kind of taken that next step especially in his overall progression of being in his rookie season. He's done what other Patriots players do, where he's had a semi-quiet regular season, but and then they hit the playoffs and he's just off to the races. It's just like Julian Edelman, he's stepped up huge when they need him to. I think Julian Edelman's also a huge piece for this Patriots offense in terms of pulling off this win. Just overall, he's again also had a huge postseason. He had a massively quiet regular season, and I kind of question maybe what his role was going forward, but then he steps up, and especially like he did a couple weeks ago against the Chiefs and making those crucial third down catches like we talked about. And I think for me, the biggest weakness, and I know everyone's addressing it, is the Rams linebacker core. I don't know if they're just overall. I just don't know if the talent's there for them to consistently get stops. Like we saw the Patriots expose the Chiefs on third down multiple times, and I just don't know if the coverage will be there for the Rams from their linebacker core, or I think Belichick will find a way to scheme around their cornerbacks, which are uber talented, but I just don't know if they're. I just don't think they'll be schemed right enough. But overall, I'm gonna take experience in this game. I like the Patriots. I've doubted them multiple times this year, and I don't think I picked them once this postseason to win. But overall, I do think the Rams are primed to be a consistent contender for years on going forward. But overall, I think Brady's having too much fun. Belichick looks like he's still hungry to win another Super Bowl. And just overall, I think the Patriots are going to edge out the Rams in this one.
Yeah, I think both of you covered this game pretty well so far. As you said, Adam, that's really two opposite ends of the spectrum with Belichick, the cold-hearted, defensive-minded genius, and you have Sean McVay, the lighthearted, player's guy, who's, as we all know, is an offensive genius, who is, like you said, able to just recall plays back from when he was with the Redskins, probably even his middle school days, like you said. I think the next factor in this game, like you said, is James White. I think that's a big thing for me. He always seems, as we saw in the beginning of the season, he was kind of a big factor before, I think, Sony Michel. I think he was hurt, and I think he wasn't quite ready in the offense. I think once they finally switched to Michel, I think you kind of saw him kind of get phased out, which wasn't really his fault, I guess. It was just he wasn't playing that. It was just one of those things where they kind of wanted to switch to a different type of offense. as you can tell in the playoffs. With what he had like 17, 18 carries in the first half of both games they played this in the playoffs. So you can definitely tell what they're trying to accomplish on offense, which is nice to see. And I just think James White, who usually seems to have big games in the Super Bowl, which as you've seen in the past, and I think that's going to be a big deal. I think C.J. Anderson also is going to be an X factor in this game, and I think the two corners for the Rams is what's really going to separate this game. Is what's really going to make the difference against Brady, because at the end of the day, they've got to have a big game for them to even honestly have a chance. Because we all know the Rams have talent on defense. I think we all know this. What's really lacking is depth, which has kind of killed them over the season. But obviously, this is it. This is the final game. This is the one for the big championship, the big trophy. And I think at the end of the day, I think this is where spending all that money, making all those trades is going to kind of work for the Rams, and it's why it's becoming like what they say is a copycat league. And I think a lot of teams you're going to see like how they copied the Eagles last year when they won the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be kind of the same thing around the entire league for teams who have a lot of talent and just maybe need one or two more pieces. And I think it's going to be interesting to see Todd Gurley in this game, to see coming back after a big game, whether it's because he was not quite healthy or just because he just wasn't having a very good game. I think it's a little bit of both. I think the Saints really did a good job of stopping him for what he did. I think they just kind of had to switch it off to C.J. Anderson. I think there's something they're not telling us maybe. I'm not really sure why Todd Gurley only had 6 touches, I think, that entire game. And I still don't quite understand. I still never really kind of elaborated on it. But I think he's also a big thing in this game. I think if they're able to get a lead down the stretch, I think if they're able to, with the tandem of Anderson and Gurley, I think that's going to be what kind of wins them this game. And I think what you said, Miller, that Terrence said whoever gets the ball, it's a crystal ball prediction that whoever gets the ball last isn't going to win the game, which is kind of weird because usually it comes down in these kind of games that Tom Brady usually has the last laugh. It's always like kind of keep it close, Rams, or just really any team we saw last week or Chiefs, and it's just like, they come back and you give them too much time, D Ford, offsides. It's just like they capitalize on your mistakes, and that's kind of the way they've always won. And honestly, I'm gonna take the Patriots in this one. I've watched them too much over. It just doesn't make any sense for me to pick the Rams no matter what. I just can't. I'll be happy if the Rams win. Don't get me wrong. I'll be excited. Like, yes, maybe he'll be done. But then we also saw the interview with Brady. He said, I'm not retiring, which is unfortunate. It makes me kind of sad. Makes me really sad, actually, but yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing that can be looked at is Brandon Cooks and how the Patriots play him. Yeah. I think the whole, he's played in New England and stuff before. I think that can be used a little too much in the Patriots' favor. But at the same time, I think that they're going to know a little bit of how, do they shadow him with a corner? Is Gilmore staying on him all game? Or are they going to swap it around? I just don't think their corners are really built to shadow a guy like Cooks that can take that speed down the field multiple times in a single drive and tire them out. I don't think that's going to be the case, so I think they're going to have to swap guys in and out on him that can hopefully keep up with him. But I think that's going to be a key as well. And if Goff can hit him deep down the field for multiple times, I think that's huge. Just like it was in the Saints game where Goff threw a perfect throw to him that kind of was a determining factor in trying to pull them back into that game. That's what kind of shifted the momentum a little bit, and I think that could happen again in this game. But it just depends on how the Patriots play it and how healthy Cooks is as well. So overall, I'm going to take the Patriots as well. I guess it's a clean sweep here, Patriots, but I hope it's a good game. I think it will be. I don't think anyone thinks it's going to be a blowout. That's not my personal opinion at all, but sure I think it's going to be a shootout that goes back and forth, and at the end of the day, Brady and Belichick get it done again. And I don't think that's going anywhere. Like he said in the interview, he's sticking around hopefully until 45. That's unfortunate for the rest of the league, but if he wants to do that, I guess
twice a year. Oh, that's really unfortunate.
That's not ideal, but we'll see how that goes. That doesn't matter in this game. I know for a fact that Belichick and Brady are going to come into this game focused. They don't care about what's happening after it. And the fact that Brady's having fun, like you said, Miller, is just another factor that scares me. Because you usually don't see that type of emotion. But I think, of course, he's 41, guys. But let's not forget that. Yeah. But the fact that over his career he usually hasn't shown that much emotion just shows he's having fun with it and he's playing his butt off and it's showing. And they've been doubted and they've overcome it the entire time. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I know a lot of people are kind of doubting Togger, like Jared brought up. I still think he's another X factor for the Rams. Now I don't think he's gonna. Again, I don't know if he's hurt or anything like that. I mean, I don't think we can also doubt that like when the Rams were at their most mediocre these last 2 years, before Sean McVay came in, he was still like the center point of their offense, and for most of the year he still has been.
Yeah.
I do think there is something they're not telling us, as in he's probably slightly injured. He did get an extra week off, so we don't know how that's going to affect anything. But I mean, yeah, like overall, these are two of the better scheme teams in the league. Both Sean McVay and Bill Belichick are probably two of the most innovative coaches we've ever seen in history, and Sean McVay in his young career has proven to be a very smart and reliable head coach. But overall, yeah, I think the experience the Patriots have being in this game before, especially Brady, how many countless times he's been in the postseason, especially in the highest game in the Super Bowl, compared to this being Goff's first ever appearance. I think Goff and McVay have a bright future together, and they're going to have plenty of Super Bowls after this. But as of right now, I just think the Patriots are going to edge them out a little bit. I think it's probably going to end in like a fashion where Brady and the Patriots get the ball back with a little too much time on the clock. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. If I had to pick a score, I'd probably say about 20-24 in favor of the Patriots. I just think it's going to end on probably a last minute touchdown, and then I just don't think the Rams will have enough time to get downfield and score a touchdown to win the game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something like that. I agree with you. It's probably going to be 34-31. It'll be something where it's going to be like a last drive. It could even be 2 possessions, but obviously the score wouldn't represent how the game went.
Yeah.
And I think you made an interesting point about Cooks and how the Patriots are going to have to scheme him. I think you're right. I don't think they have a corner. I think Stephon Gilmore is like a shadow guy, just like a one-on-one guy. It kind of reminds me of like what Revis was for them. I think that was a good trade when they made it a couple of years ago. Kind of reminds me of like how they used Revis. And Cooks, you got to remember that in last year's Super Bowl, he got taken out in his first or second quarter.
I think so, yeah.
I think if he's in that game, I think they win that. I mean, not to say that he was a big deal in their offense. He was the guy that took the top off. I mean, he was kind of not saying Josh Gordon, but he was pretty close. Josh Gordon was the kind of guy that's at any point in time you could throw the ball up to him, he probably would come down with it. And it was. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that the Patriots are missing. I think that's what might be one of the biggest X factors for them, as we talked about earlier, for that not being able to just get that big play. I think Gronk is going to have to make big plays in this game. I think he's going to. I guess people say it's probably his last game of his career. I think this is the one where he's really got to show out in this one. And I think Cooks, like you said, I think Jared Goff's got to have a good game. And really who's ever capitalizes on turnovers and going gets the stops at the right time. I don't think. It's not gonna be one where it's gonna be an offensive game, where it's gonna be 7-0 or 14-0 going into halftime. I think it won't be like the Chiefs and the AFC division. It won't be anything like that. But I think it's gonna be whoever makes probably the biggest plays and whoever's able to capitalize on turnovers, which, as we've seen before, who capitalizes on turnovers better than anyone else, the Patriots. So
yeah, I think another thing with Gilmore is the fact I think he matches up better with Robert Woods. Yeah. Just size and physicality wise, he plays a guy like Woods better than he would Cooks. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gilmore sees Cooks a little bit, but he's mainly shadowing Woods, and you see guys rotating in and out, whoever's fresh to stay on Cooks. Just because we know his speed and, he can take the top off real quick and change a game. So I think that's a really good point, too. I also think the D-line of the Patriots is kind of overlooked by a lot of people, but the guys on the edges have been playing really good, especially in the playoffs. They absolutely killed Rivers when they played them because the guys on the outside were just too much, and so it was making Rivers step up in the pocket. And we've seen Goff, when he gets pressured, is a completely different quarterback than he is when he's not getting pressured. I know you could say that with a lot of guys, but with Goff, it's just very evident in the fact that they may call a good play, but if he's getting pressured, the throws aren't there. They're not on target, and he's not making the throws like he did, to bring them back against the Saints or, in previous games like that. And it shows how when they played the Chiefs couldn't get a lot of pressure on them. Their O-line had a really good game. It turned into a shootout, and Goff put up, a ton of points for his team. So I think the D-line is going to be huge for the Pats just because of how they can stop the running game and the passing game from the outside.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Next week we'll be recapping Super Bowl 53 and what exactly went down. Thanks.